Say what you want about the Skaven, but there's something about their artillery that is completely out of this world, and if you want to bathe your opponents in the sickly green glow of Morslib, there is no better tool than the Warplightning Cannon or the Plague Claw Catapult. Now, artillery cores are not a strategy you see very often in Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer. There's a good reason for that. I think you can sometimes see it with like the Vampire Coast and Necrofax Colossus builds when you bring two of those, but those are a mobile terror platform. They can move around, they can summon zombies, they can heal, they can shoot stuff from long range, and they can get into melee. So a little bit more utility on a Necrofax Colossus than you might get out of a Warplightning Cannon or a Great Cannon for the Empire. But there's something about bringing overwhelming range superiority with a Skaven that can be incredibly good and catch an opponent off guard and be very efficient and effective in a multiplayer setting. So what we're going to be seeing from Aerocrastic and the Skaven in this game is an artillery core. 3 Warplightning Cannons and a Plague Claw Catapult, which can just eviscerate stuff from long range, obviously, and it means it's going to force whoever he's fighting against to come to him. Now, the cool thing about this build is that it can snipe out single entities, it can snipe out cavalry, and there is some crazy tactics on the way in regards to the Doomwheels, but we'll get to that in a second. He's facing off against Aristodemus and the High Elves, a very cav-centric army, but we're looking at the Skaven here, and Clan Rat Spears will just be defending all its artillery in the back. Rat Ogres, Lord Skrolk in the front with some summons, and Liber Roboticus, and basically a lot of meat shields, just to kind of tarp it and slow stuff down to allow the Doomwheels and the Warplightning Cannons to do what they need to do. Gunner Runners with Poison out on the flanks. Their Poison Shurikens will be very good for slowing down Silverhelms and Illyrian Reavers. And for the High Elves, we're looking at 4 High Elf Spearmen in the front ranks, 4 Silverhelms, 2 Dragon Princes of Calidor, and a Life Mage with Earthblood and Regrowth, and a Moondragon Princess in the middle. And that is going to be the focus of that artillery early on. If they can snipe her out, they could be in a really good position to take this game pretty early. 2 very talented players in this game, again, Aristodemus and Aerocrastic, so they both know what they're doing, and the Doomwheels are probably the most interesting part of this build because they're not going to be used the way you will typically see a Doomwheel be used. They're kind of a sacrificial lamb, but I want to show that when it actually happens. So they're going to be going forward and kind of be, well, I mean, this is actually a very good way to describe a distraction card effects. Their entire point is to go in and distract the opposition, be a very powerful elite infantry killer, but they're going to be thrown to the wolves. They're not going to be used how you might typically see a Doomwheel be used. They're going to go right up the center into the Azure Spearmen. And so right now, they're on an island. They're completely isolated, and you're saying, okay, I mean, Moondragon's going to munch that for dinner. What is a Doomwheel going to do here? But this is the entire strategy this build revolves around. It's get the Moondragon, get the Illyrian Reavers and the Silverhelms and the Dragon Princes to commit, and then unleash Warp Lightning. Hellish Warp Lightning crossing the space between these two armies and go straight for the Moondragon. And look at that. That is 3,000 gold worth of artillery, all focusing down the Moondragon at once. And we got to keep it in slow motion because that'll happen so fast. And immediately, with that bonus for Sludge and the precision, which of course Clan Scryer is completely known for, how precise and efficient and accurate they are, they're going to take that princess down to half HP. Amazing way to start the game. So yes, you're trading HP on your Doomwheel with a Moondragon, and of course they have Lore of Life, so they can get some of that heal back. Regrowth will actually pretty much top her off, but if he can do that again, he can snipe her out really early on and take a commanding lead in the battle. So Doomwheel took some damage for sure, but it is distracting a huge portion of the High Elf army, allowing those Warplightning Cannons a ton of time to snipe out those high-value targets. So Silverhelms and the Dragon Princes of Calidor are not very happy about how that game has started. They're going to run forward. Lord Skrolk on an island as well. But again, oh my god, more shots coming in. Crazy. That's absolutely crazy. That's so much fun to watch. But you see, if the Moondragon or Dragon Princes commit on Lord Skrolk, the Scryer technology can completely run him over. Now, it looks like some Silverhelms moving out on the flank. They're going to have a very hard time catching up to those Gutter Runners, but in tandem, they have 2 here. They're going to be on an island. They're going to get run over pretty easily, I think. But the Moondragon's still taking a bunch of shots. On this side, Rat Ogres and the Gunner Runners have committed to melee. Silverhelm's going to be fighting with the Rat Ogres, and they'll do okay in that fight. They might actually win. Rat Ogres are not great against heavily armored cav in sustained melee. They need a bit more support than they're getting right now. But Doomwheel's up the center, and Terror Route for the Azure Spearmen pretty early on. Now, this Doomwheel is getting dumpstered, put in the trash can, not having a particularly enjoyable engagement right here, but down to 1300 HP, and the Moondragon has been Liber Bubonicus. So multiple ways to snipe out that Moondragon early on, and getting into the cookie jar, not going to be the hardest thing for the High Elves here because they have so much speed and so much mobility, but once they get in, I mean, there's clan rats. There's not a lot of killing power there, but there's a lot of bodies that can kind of be thrown in and just kind of stuff them up and say, Silverhelms, what the hell are you doing here, mate? Get out of here. You're not going to be able to kill my cannons. So the Plague Claw is still opening up and getting some really good shots into the flank of the Azure, and the Moondragon is on life support at this point, trying to dodge like crazy, getting another big charge in with the Silverhelms, and about to rout already, and she has. That's a big loss, and now she can't dodge. Aristodemus has no way to control the Moondragon, and one more volley might be enough to send her plummeting from the sky and put her in the ground for good. And here they come now. The big shots arcing in. Princess goes flying, drops to her doom, and death stalks the land for the Azure. So, the Warplightning Cannons still opening up fire, and they've not been kind of inundated and run over by the cavalry quite yet. It looks like Aristocrat's done a very good job of keeping those Skaven slaves and clan rats in a good position to prevent these charges from doing too much damage. And the Skaven should get DP'd off the force of that charge, but kind of a limp dick one, actually. That did very little damage, and half the unit didn't even engage, so that's a problem for the High Elves because they really need the Dragon Princess to turn it into high gear and start running stuff over if they want to take this game. They've already lost their Lord, which a lot of times is a death sentence, so definitely not a great way to start off this battle. Now the Silverhelms were kind of hiding behind this alcove of trees, I think trying to get behind some of those shot blockers, but instead, Warplightning Cannons will open up into them, and as they try to close the gap, this is going to be looking like D-Day as they try to close into melee. I mean, they've got a long way to go and a lot of artillery and range firepower to cut through before they manage to get in. Now, Lord of Skrolk has kind of been by himself this entire game, just having a good time summoning stuff. Once the Moondragon went down, there was really nothing that could take him out easily, and if the Dragon Princess commit to him, well then, guess what? They're just going to get completely blown apart by artillery fire. And the Doomwheel, up to 62 kills, going to charge in from behind into those Dragon Princes, and the infantry for the High Elves is pretty much gone, which is a pretty big issue for the High Elves because they really need something to tie down all those Clan Rat Spears so that their Silverhelms and Dragon Princes can get in behind and get those hammer and anvils off they're so well known for. Shurikens, Gunner Runners doing a very good job of killing off all this cav that has gotten behind the artillery, but now that they turn around, they can get more shots into the flank, and the Dragon Princes are getting up, well, they're getting a ton of kills, as you would expect, but there's really the only thing going the Azure way at the moment. Doomwheel, probably going to go down relatively soon if these Azure Spear manage to get on target, but he could actually pull away, and he's just terror routed the Life Mage, balance bar shifting into Skaven's favor, and even the Dragon Princes now are running away because they had to turn their flank. They are just getting destroyed, cut to pieces by the onion layered defense of the Skaven here, and as more Warplightning arcs in, it's looking pretty bad for the High Elves right now. Gunner Runners, Plague Monk summons rather, doing a really good job. 58 kills, that's a lot for a summoned unit. Doomwheel has gone down and is routing, but it's looking like the High Elves just don't have enough power here to get through what remains of the Skaven army. And that Doomwheel is going to be a nightmare for everything that remains because they have no single entity that can easily kill it. These Warplightning Cannons have generated so much value this game. Glorious charge and some very Skaven-y friendly fire arcing in. These Warplightning Cannons are just destroying stuff, and as that Doomwheel gets close, probably going to be some terror routing, and the heals will not be enough to keep the Azure in the fight. So they'll charge in, they'll make good account of themselves in melee, they come back to the fight now, but it has just been amazing tactics from Aristocratic and the Skaven to ensure that that Moondragon couldn't make the impact on the battle that Aristodemus would have really wanted it to. It really just didn't generate a whole lot of value at all. We saw no breath attacks, very little skirmishing, and no terror routes caused by that dragon either. So balance bar shifting all the way into Skaven's favor, and that artillery core was used to perfection. So, couple things about that build that I think are really interesting. The Doomwheels are, again, a distraction, meant to go in force the opponent to blob up, and then you blow it apart with artillery. If infantry surrounds the Doomwheel, then the Plague Claw Catapult gonna rack up a ton of kills. If a single entity monster like a Moondragon lands on the Doomwheel, focus fire with all your Scryer tech, all your Warplightning Cannons on that one target, and it will drop incredibly quickly. One volley was enough to take down that princess to half HP. Even Regrowth and Earthbloods and all the Life Mage healing that was going her way was not enough to keep her in the fight for very long. So it's a great way to kind of bait out an opponent into making a mistake, and then you punish it super heavily. And there's very few ways to come back from that quickly once you see your Moondragon die in like the first minute of the battle. And I think that way of using Doomwheels is such an interesting way of doing it. And Skrull too. I mean, the aggression that Aerocrastic put out early on, it's fun to watch. I mean, you're literally seeing Lord Skrull just YOLO into the teeth of the enemy army by himself, and somehow, because no one wants to actually commit to him because they know what will happen if they do, he just kind of gets to summon wherever he wants and just kind of run around, cast Liber Roboticus on whatever he wants, and kind of get ignored. And that is a pretty powerful trait to have. The Gunner Runners did a very good job of shutting down the mobility in the back lines. Red Ogres kind of got put in the trash can, but that's not that surprising. Warplightning Cannons, I mean, 2 chevrons, 1 chevron, really good. And the Doomwheels, I mean, they were fantastic as well. For Aristodemus, I was surprised not to see at least 1 bolt thrower. Typically, what you'll see from the High Elves in the Skaven matchup is at least 1 bolt thrower, just so you have a very easy way of sniping out their enemy artillery. The one issue that Warplightning Cannons really suffer from, is their cannons are very high profile and easily sniped out in an artillery duel. That's very different than something like a Great Cannon, which has a low profile and will typically not get hit very easily in a duel with enemy artillery. Warplightning Cannons are huge, they're really tall, huge hitbox, and they go down very quick. So bolt throwers are great for sniping them out, but even if he had brought 1, even 2, I'm not sure it would have been enough to deal with all of that already. Certainly would have taken some pressure off of the Moondragon, but what he wanted to do in this battle was obviously get into melee as soon as possible, surround him with all his superior mobility, get those Dragon Princes in the rear, and just charge stuff into oblivion. And in a lot of situations that would have worked. But Aerocrastic did a very good job of layering that defense, making sure he pushed up Skrulk and the Doomwheels so that there was a lot of stuff kind of preventing them from getting in close early on, and that allowed those Warplightning Cannons to really make a huge impact on the battle. A Dragon Prince is 200 kills, but a lot of that's on summons. I mean, it's great kill count, no question about it. But he just wasn't able to get in to the stuff that was actually killing his army, which was the artillery and the Doomwheels themselves. So really interesting strategy. I like seeing artillery cores. I think it might be a really fun way to play Skaven going forward, and certainly not a bad way to be competitive either. It can catch an opponent off guard, and when it does, this is kind of the result. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Indie Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one.